I don't actually think I've never recorded an episode like this before. My guest is Ani, and she is a 2-time cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer in 2016, I believe, which then recurred in 2019. And in that time, went to Oxford and did an MBA. Is an engineer by background. Previously worked at the UN, the WWF, and I don't think I've known someone as, I guess, you hear the word like strong as her, like mentally strong, the resilience required to go through education whilst going through chemotherapy, whilst building a health tech company. This is it's so inspirational. It's quite emotional, this one. It was for me, recording it multiple times and then he burst into tears, because this is a topic really close to me, in that someone very close to me had cancer, went through it in a way that I think they needed something like this. And Ani talks about the company that she's building and why. It's a digital platform that allows cancer survivors to get content and elements of art and nature therapy, giving good vibes, she said. But it also allows you to essentially trade love on there. You can dedicate a run that you're doing to someone with cancer. They will be notified of that. You don't even have to know them. It can be someone completely random. And she talks about her experience of going through cancer and basically feeling loved, and that being a huge motivator and factor in her happiness and her ability to get out there and live a relatively normal life despite what she was going through. And she's built this platform that kind of mimics that and allows other people to trade that love and to give that love and to feel that love. And that is as beautiful as it sounds. What else? Listen, just go and listen to this episode. It's a really good one. Ani, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the Healthtech Podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very well. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Apologies for the technical issues with getting you onto the podcast. These are often the case these days with these platforms. But yes, glad to have you here and glad to be recording it.
Thank you.
So Ani, listen, obviously it's a very honest and a very personal story that you've allowed me to kind of introduce you with there, that you passed through on your intro. There's obviously quite a lot of detail involved in giving you this passion for what you're doing now with your personal health and history behind that health. And so it'd be great in your own words for you to tell us that story.
Thank you very much, James. Well, I'm a mechanical engineer by training, as you said in the introduction, and did some projects, worked on a couple of projects in the States as well, in environmental management and policy, in forest resources. That's when I was doing my master's degree in New York. Then I had the privilege of working with the United Nations and WWF, World Wildlife Fund, and several private companies in sustainability, community development, and natural resources. So there was a lot of knowledge and experience in terms of understanding the human factor, the community and community development and organizational management. And the next step for us back in 2015 was really to come to Oxford. Like Oxford University was one of my long-term goals. And in 2015, I got accepted into Oxford, and I wanted to come to do an MBA because I had a lot of knowledge and experience, as I said, in several fields. And I wanted to combine that experience and use it for actually to bring a positive impact and do something meaningful. And that's something that I was really aiming for I do remember probably from my high school years, when I was a teenager, and so I got accepted into Oxford, and I was very excited that I was going to travel and actually fulfill my goal. And a couple of months before my planned departure, it was in summer of 2015. I went for a regular checkup, and it turned out that I had a late stage breast cancer. So my doctors told me that you can't travel now because it's important that you start the treatment. And of course, it was obvious, and which I did. So in 2015, I started my active treatments, chemotherapy. First of all, I contacted Oxford and I told them, "Hi, this is what happened," and they said, "Recover and come to Oxford. We are waiting for you." So it was very, very encouraging. I knew that I had a goal there. I knew that there was something waiting for me. And whatever was happening, this disease, which I had to figure out really what was going on with me, I knew that I would overcome and those challenges. And being an engineer myself, my approach most of the time is, okay, what's the problem? Do we have a problem? Okay, how can I find a solution to it? It's never about giving up. Like, I never think about the possibility of giving up or that, okay, I can't do it. The approach is always to try to figure it out. And right from the first day of my diagnosis, I spoke with my family, and we decided that we were going to do teamwork because it required a lot of positivity, commitment, and understanding, of course, and collaboration between within the family, and of course doctors. So we did a good job actually. So in 2016, I recovered, finished my. I had a couple of surgeries, and I was ready to go to Oxford. So I came to Oxford in 2016, did my MBA, and I was still on treatments. I was receiving some treatments, and successfully finished my MBA. And in 2019, my cancer was back. I had recurrence, and I believe the first stage of treatments probably was they weren't able to eliminate the disease or whatever the reason was. So in 2019, right after my second diagnosis, I decided to start Vann, to start this company. And it's actually quite a funny story. When I went to the hospital, I remember it was in July, to see my oncologist, and I had no idea what the tests would tell. I didn't know that it would, they found a tumor. So my oncologist came, and he had the test results, or the paperwork. He sat down and he said, "Look, I've got some news for you. You need to start chemotherapy again because it's cancer again." And honestly, James, I wasn't scared. I didn't think about my disease, but what I was thinking about is, okay, right, how can I start the project that I was thinking about for a long time? So I had the idea of Vann since like 2016. And I said, this is the right time for me to start this project. And of course, it became a company in 2020. But I believe what really helped me since 2015 was my approach, and probably also the mindset itself. So instead of worrying about this disease, instead of being stressed and scared, I tried to convert my experience of the patient as a patient and also as an advocate, and convert it into something positive. So for me, most of the time, it's not, something happened because this is what's going to lead to, to negative, something to negative. But every problem and every challenge that happens, it's a lesson for me. And fortunately, it worked out very well, with this disease. I remember since 2015, every time when I received my chemo, it would take about 7 or 8 days to recover, and usually I would be in bed. As soon as I would recover, I would go to hang out with either friends, do some projects. We did a couple of projects in order to break the stereotypes around cancer and cancer patients. So there was a lot of, and there is still a lot of uncertainty, and there are gaps, and there is a lot that we should educate people and help people actually to gain more experience and to learn from us and to learn about this disease, because we shouldn't really be scared of it. What we should do, we should respect, certainly, and we shouldn't hate this disease like any chronic disease, because it's actually part of us. We can't hate something that is part of our body, and we can't succeed in something that we don't like. So there has been a lot of learning since going on since like 2015, and it's something that I'm applying to my work, and in my communication with other people affected by cancer.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a testament to I think the framework that you have, the mental strength, I don't really know how to explain it, but I do feel I guess quite moved by your comment at the end there, that you shouldn't hate it, it's part of us. We need to respect it. I think that's a really, really interesting thing to say. You said it's not like a chronic disease, almost like it's not something external that's coming into us. It is part of us. I think, as I think about that now, and I think about the pathophysiology of a cancer, of course, the mechanism that leads to the cancer, i.e. the tumour and the growth, the mechanism can be very different. But ultimately, I think one thing that those cancers will share are the tumours, the growths, and you're right, they are our cells. They are not foreign cells replicating inside us. They are our own cells. And I was actually having a conversation with someone recently about this, about modern medicine, and how modern medicine is an interesting one, because you can kind of see how in days gone by, your arteries would harden, your blood pressure would go up, you would have a massive event that would end your life, and you'd pretty much lose your consciousness and experience of this realm before you hit the floor. Whereas with modern medicine, these things, we die with them, not of them, quite often. And actually, if you're alive long enough, eventually, with cancer being what it is, your cells are mutated. They're not mutating all the time. Your cells are, well, actually, to a point, your cells are mutating all the time. It's just that your body is able to get rid of the mutated cells. Apoptosis, or apoptosis, I believe, is the term, from pulling on some first-year medical student knowledge there. And ultimately, those processes break down at some point in your life. If your cells replicate enough, it's a numbers game. Eventually, it won't work. The checks and balances that your body has on is the correct cell or not won't work, and the tumour will start growing. And eventually, if we all live long enough, perhaps we would all die of cancer. It's such an interesting comment that we shouldn't hate it as part of us. Do you think that being an engineer, the way that you approach problems has contributed to that kind of philosophy that you've reached? Is that a philosophy that's held often with cancer patients, or is that something unique to you? And is that something that you are trying to talk about?
So I can say that it's probably, it's my personality, and I've been like that since my childhood. I remember myself when I was a little girl. I looked at things differently, and I felt like I was quite different from my classmates. So I like the challenge. I know it may sound a bit crazy, but when things get a bit easy, it can be a bit boring for me. I like challenge, or I like, because that's when it gets interesting, and I'm able to find, things in order to, solve, and that helps me grow. So it's about growth. It's about my professional and personal growth. And of course, I don't think about it every day when I wake up, but it's part of me. And I believe the profession that I chose, the engineering, it was connected. It was part of my interests. And yes, it certainly helped me, that approach that I'm sure that a lot of engineers have. And my brother is an engineer as well, and I know that there is some similarity in the way that we think. And based on my experience with other people affected by cancer, and again, this is my experience, and I've spoken and I've worked with hundreds of cancer patients. Usually, this isn't the approach that other people have. So what they do most of the time, it's similar to the program shutting down. So when they hear about that issue, when they hear about that problem, they hear about this diagnosis, their internal system or whatever that is, it just shuts down, and they panic. And there is a lot of fear. There is a lot of, uncertainty and doubt. Okay, am I going to be able to make it through? And that, I believe, that doesn't let them be themselves during their treatment. So instead of focusing on their health, instead of really focusing and being positive and hopeful and help their doctors and especially that the treatments that they are receiving, you can't, the treatments will work certainly. And now we have high quality treatments. But when you are stressed all the time and there is a lot of negativity and there is a lot of fear, you may not get the best results. And I'm saying this based on my experience as a patient, because there was some uncertainty in my life at some point for a short period of time, and I realized, okay, this isn't really helping. And that was after 2019. And I have respect, and I feel for everyone affected by cancer. And I know that it isn't easy. It's not very easy. We can't just say, and it will happen. But and people die from cancer, and treatments can be very difficult. But what we certainly need to realize is that by staying negative, and by saying negative, I mean having the fear and giving up and thinking about things that aren't gonna help us. So this isn't gonna help us during the treatments. It's best actually to think, when you recover, what you would like to do, how you can live your everyday. Because I remember before my cancer diagnosis, 2015, I was very I was very active. I was involved in several projects. I was working for several organizations, international. And I used to go hiking. I had this very, healthy lifestyle. But something was lacking in my life. I knew that I want to accomplish. I knew that I wanted to find my place in this world. And there is a reason. I used to think very often, there is a reason why I came to this world, and I need to find my mission. Well, after my cancer diagnosis, I was able to filter my time, filter things that I can focus on, and it's just been part of my personal and professional development. And I very much hope that other people affected by cancer will have the same experience, positive experience like I've had.
And one of the things that you talked about was the stereotypes around cancer patients that exist. You mentioned that there are gaps needed for education. And I think that sort of relates to what you said around the negativity felt as well. Because, I mean, I'm hypothesizing, but someone very close to me has had cancer, so I've got some knowledge of this. But ultimately, the stigma that comes along with that label can be very negative in itself. That can weigh as a pressure on someone without even thinking about the health. You're now redefined almost as this thing, a cancer patient. Like, it sits on you like a label. And I know that sat on the person close to me as a label to the point where they really didn't want it talked about. And that can obviously contribute to the negativity. It can contribute and have certain effects that knock on from that as well. When you talk about breaking the stereotypes around cancer patients, what is it exactly that you're talking about there?
Well, two things happened back in 2015, which made me realize, that I had to do something about it. So first, it was I remember. I believe I started my chemo already, so I was on treatment. So I lost my hair, so I didn't look the way that I used to. And we had some family friends, and we were very close, and we're still close. So they, for some reason, they started to avoid my parents. So they said hello, so they saw them on the street, but they didn't approach. It happened one day, and they didn't say anything. They just like avoided. And I remember when my mom came and we spoke about it, and she was confused. She didn't know what was going on. But then we realized that people are friends, and people that we knew in the beginning of my treatments, they didn't know what to do. So it was because of the probably lack of experience. They had no idea what they had to say. That I have to come and say, "Hey, we're very sorry that you are diagnosed." They were also scared, and we were very close, and they were scared that they would lose me. And I knew there were some rumors that Ani is in bed and she's dying, and I imagined that it would be very difficult for these people to talk about it, and they were very sad. So this is one of the things that we realized. And then when they saw me that I go out and I'm literally, I was having fun, and by saying fun, it wasn't just like a regular, I'm not going and doing crazy stuff, but I was very optimistic. I would go hang out, and we would do photo shooting with a few photographers, because we wanted to take pictures and, share on social media saying, "Hey, this is me. Look, I don't have hair, and that's okay. I have cancer. It's fine, whatever. Am I going to sit? Am I going to stay at home and just, get depressed or, think about what other people think about me? No. So then I started sharing the pictures, a lot of pictures of me, representing my life. And it was the first time in Armenia, so I'm originally from Armenia, that someone would do that. So it was the first time that kind of story went public. So people changed. So people saw that I was okay. People saw that my family was okay. We used to have a lot of fun. Like my mom and my friends would go, have some nice time and go, on a trip. So it was a lot of, I would say it was a good experience for these people, in our community. And later on, not only in the country, but also in other countries. So then hundreds and thousands of people reached out to me soon. It was like towards the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, from the US, from the Europe. I don't remember if there was anybody from England at this point, but from the UK. So I had this feeling that, my life and my journey became the life and the journey and, and the battle of many, many people. And I'm trying not to really kind of use the cancer battle, that phrase, that much, because I do believe that we shouldn't fight this disease, but instead we need to live with it. And the other experience with the stereotype was once I believe it was a bank. I went to the bank and I had to do something there. I don't remember. And the manager, and I was on the line, I was queuing, and she didn't approach. She didn't say anything. She just avoided me. She left the room. And I was quite surprised, but again, probably because of my appearance. And it didn't affect me, but I know that many people, and many women, and other people affected by cancer certainly it will be a negative experience for them. So that was, those are the two examples that I can bring. But again, if someone has cancer, it doesn't mean that their life is going to end, that they can't be happy, that they can't have, families, that they can't, have a full life. So it's all about us. So we need to do our best to try to help other people who haven't been affected by cancer, and just make them feel comfortable and not be scared of this disease. It's not that scary in many cases.
Yeah. It's a beautiful sentiment. I think the empathy, to have the empathy for those people that are giving you a wide berth, not ignoring you, but trying to keep their distance, for those people who clearly feel awkward, they don't know what to do. You're right. There's an education gap. There's an education gap around, this isn't a contagious disease. This isn't something to be wary of from a personal perspective, but also, whilst you might not be comfortable, the best thing is to be normal around the people that are trying to be normal around you. It's a, as I say, a beautiful sentiment that you can have that empathy and actually bang the drum for those people and to make them feel comfortable, because that's obviously going to be the thing that creates the environment for those people with cancer to exist more normally, because they're trying to too. So I think it is as I say, a wonderful sentiment to have that empathy, even let alone to be doing what you're doing and trying to educate those. So talking about how this then translates, you talked about purpose a lot, and you've talked about this giving you a purpose and allowing you to, I don't know, we want to stay away from that kind of battle and fighting analogy and language, but it's obviously given you a reason to be part of this movement and to I was going to say fight for other people, but you know what I mean, advocate for other people too, and bear the load of responsibility of more people than just yourself. And you having this ability through your skills as an engineer, through your experience as a patient, and the ability to potentially build a company, you're obviously bearing some responsibility here for other people, and that's giving you this purpose and reason to push on. You talked even about when you received your second diagnosis, the fact that you weren't actually scared at this point, and that it just sort of fortified your mission almost of, okay, we need to go to work now. So what is that work? What was the idea? What is the product and the company, and how does this all link together?
So since 2015, actually, it was, I believe, in 2016 when I was on treatment, I had a lot of side effects, and of course, we know chemotherapy or radiotherapy or any cancer treatment, they have side effects, and that's part of the process. It's part of the therapy. I remember once I had a very severe side effect. It was something like near stroke event. So it wasn't stroke, but it could lead to stroke, and it happened twice after chemo. So twice, I guess, in a month or in 2 months. So I tried to, I explained my doctors. I said, this is what's happening to me. And it was something not normal, because I knew how I reacted to that particular drug, because I was on it for some time. It was something new. And the response that I got was, hey, don't worry, you are stressed. Maybe you're depressed. It can be normal, but I wasn't stressed. I was, as I said, I was actually very optimistic and quite different, what I was doing. And then it turned out that that particular, therapy led to some heart issues, temporary heart issues, but it could be decided, it could be crucial. So fortunately, I didn't get any stroke, which is really good. But I didn't feel like I was able to communicate, first of all, my needs and explain my experience, with my care team. But in the meantime, the reason that I got that kind of response was that there wasn't information. So there was no data that would say, look, we have other patients who have gone through the same. So, and then I spoke with a lot of other patients, and in September of 2016, I established the Ani Haykuni Cancer Treatment Support Foundation, which supports people affected by cancer from low-income families. And as part of my work, I realized that actually 95% of many people go through the same, of those people go through the same. So we do have lack of information, lack of data reported by cancer patients, short-term and long-term, that would help us understand how this disease works. So what happens to us before we get diagnosed? So what happened to us in the past that somehow led to this issue, first of all? How this disease works, and how cancer and how cancer treatments affect our quality of life. So there is a lot that we can learn, and a lot should be reported and shared by people who have gone through cancer. Those are the people who have a lot of knowledge. And also the other part that I felt was, it was lacking for many people was the motivation and support. And that this is also comes to prove why we have the stereotypes. But then when I was ill and treatments in 2015-16, my friends and my family used to do a lot of events and activities, and they would dedicate those activities to me. And hundreds of people that I didn't know, they would send messages, encourage me. And so it was a very, very nice experience. And it made me feel loved, and I felt that attention. Then I realized that other people don't have that. They don't receive that kind of attention. That's where I got the idea of Vann. And then 2019, when my cancer was back, I was kind of waiting for the right time for this idea to become a project. And I remember a couple of weeks after my second diagnosis, I reached out to the Oxford University Innovation, and because I'm an alumni, they do have a program for the university staff and the students and also the alumni to apply. And it's an incubator and accelerator program. So they do provide resources, they do provide a little bit of financial support as well, and they help you develop the company. So I got accepted and started developing this company along with my treatments. So I would receive my chemotherapy, and I would go to the incubator and start working like on the same day. And the incubator staff, the OUI staff saw me doing it. Like they saw how this company developed right from scratch. The other fun, I would say, and in the meantime, useful thing that I did for the company and during the testing process of the idea and the prototype in the early stages of the company. So I tested it with other patients and clinicians in the hospital and in ambulance vehicles at emergency departments. So every time when I would call an ambulance, and of course I was ill, and that's why I called the ambulance, and I would just take that time and talk to them. Hey, what do you think about this idea? This is what I'm doing. Do you think it makes sense? Mm-hmm. But imagine I wouldn't be in a good shape. So being in the ambulance vehicle, I usually would be quite ill. Several times I had allergic reactions or stuff like that. So, but it's been possible actually to combine the treatment and to combine the project, and I would say also the commitment, the will, because that's what I wanted to do. So there was so much passion in what I was doing, and it helped me both, as a patient during my treatments, and it helped me gain so much understanding within a short period of time, and then develop the idea. Because after the prototype, we developed the minimum viable product. We tested it, and then we developed the final working version, which went through the beta testing again. So there was a lot of testing and involvement and conversations and analysis, because what we want to do and what, as a founder myself, my vision for Vann was, and it still is, it is to, create a product for millions of people affected by cancer around the world, and unite them, help one another, and share our experiences to provide motivation and support to those people, and contribute to cancer research. Because when we have the data, when we have valuable data, and we are able to apply that in research to understand really what's happening and how we can improve our research and how we can improve our cancer care. We're saying the cancer care globally. That's where we're going to bring impact. So the product, in fact, is our product is a digital platform, and mainly designed for people affected by cancer, and it provides helpful information about diagnosis, treatments, clinical trials. It provides news and updates on the industry, interesting facts that our users should know or they would be interested in learning about. We provide also informal art and nature therapy. So this is just a page within the platform, within our mobile and web app, which has beautiful imagery. It just provides positive vibes, so people can scroll through those images and enjoy. They don't have to do anything specific. We do have in-app surveys, so those surveys are focusing on several topics. So currently, for instance, in our app, we have 4 surveys covering life before cancer, side effects, treatments, breast reconstruction, bone health, and cancer. So those are the issues that have been raised by other patients, well, including myself. So the idea is actually to get high quality data from those surveys and analyze it and see what we can find out. We also have a very exciting tool, which is called Make a Smile. So the Make a Smile tool brings in the general public, regardless of their health. So just a regular person can use this tool to dedicate their activities to someone affected by cancer from our community. So, for instance, if I go for a run this weekend, I want to do 5K run, I can dedicate that run to someone that I don't know or I know simply. So this is how it works. I write a message. So I choose, my activity type, and then I write a message like, hey, I'm doing this hike for you, and I'm dedicating it to you. I wish you a fast recovery. Please stay well. All the best to you. And we are with you. You're not alone. Something inspirational. And then I send that message. Imagine someone who is going through difficult times, whether they are on active treatments or they're in remission, it doesn't really matter. And they receive that message. That short message can be very, very powerful. And we don't really need much in order to make a change, in order to impact other people's lives. Even one nice word or just one nice message can make them feel happy, and they can see the attention, and especially that it's free of charge, and it can be done anonymously as well. So this is the platform that we have developed. We've received very positive feedback so far from our users. So it was released in June. So it's been about now 2 months probably. So the positive feedback, people are loving it. They provided some comments, and we're going to use those comments and feedback to develop the platform further and to make it more personalized, to make it more interactive. We actually have introduced also a new feature within the platform. It's a dashboard, and it has a little bit of kind of a gaming side of it as well. So, and we want to see how it works, and we will improve it. So the goal is actually to provide a platform that a tool that people will love, and it will be the number one choice for them, just to get some motivation and support and being involved in making change and helping us shape the cancer research and create a safer future. It's all about having a future, building a future where, when we're not going to be scared of this disease, there is going to be enough information, there is going to be enough support and tools for all of us.
It's funny, like I don't think I've ever felt, I guess, so. I don't know. I've never felt, I guess, so moved, or I guess emotional, or however you want to describe it, because this hits home quite hard for me. And I think you mentioned at the end, like you mentioned, you want to build something that people love. It feels almost like, for me, what you've built is something that allows people to share love. at a time where they really need it, you know? And I think it's kind of, we live in this digital world of, the breakdown of community and like all those different things. Like, we can talk about that a lot and it's easy to say, but I think in your story, you talked about really feeling part of a community and actually accessing a community and building one around you with your family and your friends and people dedicating things to you and you feeling loved. And actually, for a health tech product to be in a situation like yours where you're allowing people to share that with each other, I think is a beautiful thing. I think aligning your passion with the need is the goal of every entrepreneur almost. Everyone wants to unite what they feel passionate about with a market need. And I want to use the word market quite sparingly here, given who we're talking about, but it does need to function as a business. But you found that, you found an area where people can have this, not even an emotional connection to the product. Really, you've built what is reductively empty pipes, but you're filling those with actually plenty of content yourself. But you're allowing people to dedicate a run to someone that might just be feeling lonely or scared or just needing something, needing someone, needing love. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, honest to God. And, dare I say, could extend well beyond cancer, actually, for people going through many different things. I know that obviously that is your mission, but my mind goes to, I wonder, where you've humanized the technology as much as you have done here, or you've managed to use technology to put the humanity back into this experience. I just feel like that's something that we just need far more of. And actually, the amount of people I talk to on this podcast where we talk about the engineering, we talk about the tech, we talk about the business model, we talk about the economics. I think I don't know, it just feels far more appropriate here to be talking about that stuff, about actually the fact that you're putting the humanity back in and allowing people to trade love with each other. I think that's beautiful. It must be satisfying for you knowing that you were given this mission. And I don't know if you're spiritual or religious or whatever, but it seems like you were in some way given. They often say that, what is it, that an adversity can also be a privilege and vice versa. And actually, to be given the adversity of cancer, you've converted this somewhat into the privilege of the ability to have this fire within you to drive you to build this thing that can be for millions and can help millions. It must be satisfying for you to be in the position that you are, but similarly, you must have ambition for where this can go. So my question is, where are you now, personally? Where is the business and the company and the mission? Where are you on that mission now? And what is your ambition for it over what amount of time?
Yeah, well, thanks very much, James. That's very nice of you. So I'm cancer-free, and I have been cancer-free since 2020, and I'm quite healthy and living my life and enjoying my work and, at Vann. So the company, we raised some funding last year, some angel investment and a grant funding from Innovate UK, and also a small funding from a local organization which is called Oxlab. So we are based in Oxford, and I guess it's Oxlab and European Regional Development Fund. So we've been able to, based on our MVP testing, to develop the final version, tested it and release it. We have our first traction currently. Now we are in the process of raising our next round, and which will help us to expand the operations of the company and hire new team members to build up the business. So I'm very ambitious about, my ambitions are quite huge regarding Vann. I really want Vann to become the number one I would say one of the best tools. Why not even the number one tool for every person affected by cancer globally. So whoever gets diagnosed with cancer or they are on treatment, I would like Vann to be the tool that would reach out and get that support and motivation whenever they need. And Vann has a great potential to be a leading company in cancer research in that industry, to contribute to cancer research. And it's primarily because of our experience from the, as patient, from the patient perspective, we're able to develop and contribute to the research space, which I believe, with information and data that will be needed in drug development, in testing, in understanding this disease. So, and impacting millions of people, literally. So that's the goal, and we are up for a big challenge. We know that certainly it's not easy, and especially in digital health space and in cancer related in oncology space, when where we deal with people who are going through cancer, there is a lot of sensitivity and need for understanding, and the communication is different. So we are working very passionately to build relationships with with our potential users, with the community, to work with them, to understand them, to help other players, because it's not just about one or two organization. We are taking the role of as a company, as a bridge between the patient community, or I would say the people affected by cancer in general, and the players, and the industry players. So what is it that our people affected by cancer, our patients, would like others to know? What is it that we should learn from them, and how we can involve them in a lot of processes? Because whether it's research, whether it's the development, whether it's passing that information to healthcare providers or government, involving the patients to contribute to breaking the stereotypes and understanding this field more. And whether research organizations, biotech, pharma companies, healthcare providers, private hospitals, charities, we are keen to work with those players wherever it's going to be possible to contribute and to help both sides. And again, at the end of the day, we all want to be healthy. I'm talking about people affected by cancer. And I know that their families, their friends, colleagues, they all want to see other people being healthy. We need to make sure that we help one another to create an environment, a safe environment, when we are able to communicate and share the insights and create a platform, create a future, as I've said previously, that would help us be in a situation when we don't struggle. And if we, I know people that we know now are healthy, fortunately they're going to be healthy and they're not going to be affected by cancer, but the cancer cases are increasing. And we certainly need to have that safe future and better future for all of us. So I believe, and I'm sure that Vann is going to have a great future, and we're going to do our best, and I'm going to do my best as a founder to help it grow and have its impact and help many people.
I'm sure you will, and I'm sure it will be successful. And I just hope it is. I really do. I think just the word on your model, actually. I think that kind of flywheel that you've got with providing so much value in the app to people with the content, the information, the ability to share love and moments and give that to people is what brings people to the app, as well as the fact that they can record their symptoms and experience. The data can be used then to inform cancer research. I think that flywheel that you've got of bringing people to the app through value, but then contributing value back more broadly, and that being a reason that people would want to use your app and come to it, where they will get more value and share more love and contribute more. I think that is a fabulous model, which just plays on this real fundamental point, I think, of businesses in healthcare, which is just start with the value. Like, just start with the value. If you come from that place, you'll get eyeballs and stickiness and daily active users and attention. And with that, you can think about a business model and everything that you're going to do from it. But I think focusing on the value is so important. And actually values, I notice for consumers at the moment, are incredibly important. And of course, people living with cancer are not just your average consumer, but still consumers nonetheless. And actually, for all consumers at the moment, people are more conscious about the value. And if this were an app that were just profit driven, it wouldn't have the same feel to it, to one that is clearly well-intentioned to provide as much value back into that community, and finding a way to make that work in a business sense, I think, is wonderful and another beautiful element of what you're doing. So, Ani, thanks for coming on and thanks for being so honest. I think it's a wonderful story that you've told that ends with obviously being cancer-free. The moments that you've had that have driven you towards this purpose, towards this goal, are obviously nothing that anybody wants to go through, but I think so many people will be better off for you having this passion, this drive, and building this company. So thank you for all of that. And if people do want to learn more about Vann, what's the best place for them to do so?
Well, thank you very much, James, for having me and for this opportunity to talk about Vann and to talk about my story. So people can learn about the company on. So we have a website. It's called www.thevann.com. So that's our website, and they can find us also on social media. We have account on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and other pages. They are more than welcome to contact me as well. They can contact me on LinkedIn, or I'm also active on Facebook, and I use Instagram sometimes. So I'll be very happy to connect, with people who would be keen to learn about our work, about the company, and about our product. So very much looking forward to it.